Hi, I'm Keegan, and this is A Bunch of Gamers. This is our 155th episode of Werewolf the Apocalypse 20th Anniversary Edition. Continued negotiations. I'm going to go around and have my players introduce themselves.
Hi, I'm Sam. I play Cora. She's an Aruna in the Get of Fenris.
Hi, I'm Adam. I play Mark Guides the Fallen, and he's a third of the Children of Gaia.
Hi, I'm Sean. I play Zeb Speaks-in-Sweet-Whispers. He is a Theurge of the Silent Striders.
Hello, my name's Thomas. I play Dimitri Howls-In-Memory, Lupus Galliard of the Bone Gnawers.
Hi, my name is George. I am playing William Grows-Matrices. He is a rune of the Glasswalkers.
Changes to the two brother tribes, including patron spirits for older brother becoming River Spirit, and for younger brother becoming North Wind, were inspired or directly pulled from the work of James Sobrano. Please support them on their Patreon, link in the description. Last time, the packs slowly made their way to the Sept of the Hidden Glade. Stopping first at a mixed tribe, Karen, they spoke to several Garu there and were given some advice, as well as finding out how hard-lined the Fianna might actually be. Once their business concluded there, they finally moved all the way into Boston and called upon the Hidden Glade. Told to meet at a warehouse off Sept grounds, 3 elders arrived to speak to them about the child. The first one, Connor Crimson Moon, spoke fiercely about his disdain for the Krynos-born and the perfect child. After an explosion from William, negotiations concluded between the two. Next came Blackfang, a Ragabosh of the Fianna, who suggested that the child is not a creation of the worm, but of the Weaver, and that caution might have to be taken to prevent a new spiritual brood from being created. The pack seized upon that and may try and use this now as a tactic going forward with other tribes as the Concordant quickly comes upon them. Now they wait for the final Fianna Elder to speak with them. Terrence now walks in. The Fianna sits down. They have a kind of calm demeanor as he kind of sits and waits. Gives you kind of a smile. It's that kind of knowing smile that's supposed to invoke kind of comfort, but all you get is it dripping with condescension.
Forgive me for not knowing your position within the Sept. Do you hold one here now as a leader?
I do. I am the Master of Right.
And you still lead a pack now too, actively?
Not as often, but I do join in several temporary packs, usually with Connor.
I appreciate your time. I know that there isn't much, there won't be much that I need to speak to just yet. I would prefer to listen and then think if we might start the dialogue with you.
Oh, certainly. Well, I think it's fairly clear that there's something wrong with the child. There are no mules without defects. This perfect child is likely going to be dealing with a spiritual defect, and likely, given the nature of its parents, it's probably going to be, well, both, if you don't mind me putting it, well, bluntly to you. Other bit is that, well, I'm sure you're familiar with many of the stories, such as Thunderstruck, a Shadow Lord, Krynos-born, who died with honor in protecting his Sept. Or I'm sure you've heard of Crimson Shame of our own tribe, who lost themselves in a fantasy with his fellow packs in Pangea before realizing the way and died defending his packmates as they left and prevented them from dying to Banes. But there's a common thread amongst all the Warborn that are considered good and just. They die. And it is because there is nothing for them in this world. And while they are a sin, I do believe that the Krynospawn should be pitied. You, me, any of the Lupusborn, they had a life before Gaia chose them. They got to experience a life without this cosmic war. They got to feel comfort in what they thought was normality. The Krynospawn do not have that luxury. They cannot live as humans or wolves and are thus doomed to never know peace. They are born warriors. That is reinforced to them with their very bodies. There is no way to have a Krynospawn grow up normal. They grow up quickly, and they cannot be seen by humans. They cannot be around wolves lest they scare off the pack. They are warriors, born. And so, yes, it is even more true for this child. This child will be a warrior, and this child will know even less peace than other warborn, because this child has an obvious destiny, and that destiny will loom around its throat like a noose, and that will cause even greater pressure, even more desire to die or fall. And it will be seen as a savior, and it will know no other life. And, as I suspect, if it fails, even once, to live up to this monumental pressure of savior, it will fully destroy its psyche, and it will fall to the worm immediately. The worm will drip honey in its ear and tell it that it will not need this with the spiral, and it will alleviate that pressure in some way, or make it so that the child can live a debased and debaucherous life, free of the pressures that the nation must put onto it, because there is no way that the child can escape it, because the Krynospawn will see it as a lifting of Gaia's ban on their existence. Others will see it as the desperate one and Gaia's savior in the apocalypse. And once that happens, it will cause a ripple effect through the nation. It'll cause great harm to any and all who put their hopes in the child. And not just that the child failed them and that there is no savior, but it will be a complete loss of hope, and a great wave of Hirano will strike the nation and weaken us even more than we already are. And that is why I will propose the execution of the child.
You may be shocked to hear that to many of your points, I agree. It is a harsh cruelty to have a child with a great prophecy completely unprepared for what the worm would bring to it. As your elder said, skin without fur, too thin. It is equally disturbing to see what it's already done to wolves that I've known for a very long time, and how it's begun to affect them. Like you said, false hope is dangerous. Some of them have already taken a hard line against false hope, knowing what it could bring. Pragmatic guru that I trust. I think we should do our best to separate the two prophecies. We have no idea if he's the desperate one, and there are many, I believe, that could fit that definition. Nothing about him right now makes him uniquely qualified to be the desperate one, I would say, from the worm's perspective, but no doubt significant. I bring up a point or a term, and I would argue for a stay of execution. It is because the very nature of this child, beyond just a guru, one not tied to anything, a conversation I had with my packmates before, when Gaia and Guru die, they get to go to their ancestral homelands. They are rewarded by Gaia for great service. I will exempt my people from that statement. Where would it go? Gaia forbid it ended up in the atrocity realm. Gaia forbid it became a pillar for Banes to rally around, that in death it would still serve the worm. It has the worm's notice. I believe that for its execution to be complete and its threat to be removed from creation, we would need more time. The child would need to be observed. We would need to ensure that it was done completely, and I would wager that this is not the first, and that there would be Krynos born among the spirals and our own that would perhaps try to replicate this miracle, and that we should be far more prepared. And to have a plan still means that we are decisive. To have a plan still means that we are united. And should at any time it fall to the wormhole, then it must be destroyed immediately. But I do believe thoroughness will require more.
Very well. I think that you don't believe much of what you said. You want the child to live because you want the child to live, but you do bring up good arguments. I think that shows that you at least have a keen mind to think this through. I can understand that position.
I am biased. I will bring up one additional point, though. A real fact. Certain namers already executing their influence among the dead, bringing the dead back to life. I'm ignorant on plenty, but I know what has been reached beyond the second veil. I know what they've been doing now. Something like that, too, is a significant consideration to make sure that destruction and death means destruction and death, and not an avenue again for one of those disgusting entities that would wield their power like fools over the spirit world.
That is also a good point. There's also been strange claims of new kinds of namers that I've heard of, so it's not unheard of that they might try and get a hold of this child as well. We had one not too long ago. It was a namer who'd hunted one of our own, was able to tell they were Guru almost immediately. And none of our gifts for persuasion or stealth could stop them. They knew where we were. We ended up killing it. But it sounds as if the Sept of the Dreary Bay has had similar issues.
We had previously dealt with one of these namers that had created a serum. And why I bring up thoroughness, that would cause cannibalism amongst wolves, targeting the wolf population specifically. A disgusting and twisted scientific creation. Removing that knowledge from creation was a significant undertaking. Again, why I bring up thoroughness. But I only bring up a fact, and you have already found my bias complete, Honorable Philodox.
I have, but you do make good points, and they are ones I will at least consider. I know that you have spoken with our Ragabosh and all of their odd theories.
I think above all it's important that we remain united and devoted, and I think this is a good check here and now.
I do think that the unity of the nation is the most important thing. We've already lost one tribe in recent nights. It is best that we do not split. We are agreed on that.
I don't know if my pack mates would pose any other points to you. We wouldn't want to take up any more of your time and hospitality that we've already had. Gentlemen?
At this point, we'd be talking in circles.
I don't have anything else to add.
Thank you for your time.
Certainly. Steps out. Connor Crimson Moon steps in as he goes, "You have 2 hours to collect yourselves, then get out of the warehouse. You have a day to leave the territory, which is the city. Understood?"
Understood, Elder. Thank you for your hospitality. Keegan, just looking around the room real quick, because I know you'd said there were like maps and things on the wall and just stuff. Is there anything kind of worthwhile to take away from this, or is it all pretty sterile?
It's pretty. You see some things like you see one of the maps. It has written murder on it, and it has 4 pins around the city. You see other things like possible sewer routes to attack various megacorps throughout Boston, and specifically also subway schedules so that they are able to cross the subway in lupus form or in Krynos form without being noticed.
Well, keep that in mind if we needed to get the hell out of here. But I think we'll just go, and we'll discuss where we go as we're leaving
Bastin.
Baston. On that, Gents, I have no idea where we should go next.
What do we have? 50, 53 days before the Concordant?
Thereabouts. And we already kind of knew that give it a 30-day period to go find the cub. I mean, like, end of March, April is going to be us getting him, retrieving him, hopefully not being attacked repeatedly by the spirals, and getting back to the green. So not a ton of time.
Are there any tribes that we haven't spoken to? We spoke to a Fianna Cairn. We spoke to Shadow Lords. Have we spoken to Silverfangs?
We have. We've spoken to Howling King of our own Sept Sacred Stone, as well as First Wolf, who was he was Malcolm's pack alpha, but he is an elder of the Silverfangs.
Right. Okay.
He called for the Concordant.
Glasswalkers.
I don't think we've spoken to a younger brother, Sept.
We have only. You're right. We've only spoken to the members of older brother that are on the Council of Elders. We did not speak to any of younger brother. Ooh.
Or any of the Red Talons, I believe.
Hard pass on Red Talons. Hard pass.
Can it get any worse than Fianna?
Got you there, champ.
He does got me there.
Unless it's like a personal reason.
Oh, it's all hard mode with them.
I say we find a younger brother at the very least, and then discuss Red Talons, because I think those are the last two tribes that we haven't spoken to. We've spoken to Get. Technically, we haven't spoken to Glasswalkers, but we have from dealings that they're on our side, or on the side of saving or protecting the child.
Yeah, we've spoken about Bonars.
Children of Gaia.
Right.
So it's just those last two.
You could always go back to the green. Green has lots of connections. They might be able to point you in the right direction.
Yeah, right? Back to the green, and then from the green. It'll give us a chance to talk to Shadow Dagger a little bit, too.
Yeah.
If he's there. It'll help have that other portion of the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we'll go back to the green, Keegan.
Alright. That takes 2 days. As you get back to the green, you bump into Old Rummage as you kind of enter. The old Bonar looks you over. He's getting a little more gray and a little more wrinkled as time goes on. The liaison to the rabble.
What's the good word?
I like your optimism that you think there's still good words to be had.
What's the word?
Oh, let me tell you what. The rabble usually don't get worked up about nothing anymore. They think the apocalypse is coming, whether they join us or not. But some shit has happened. You familiar with Clinton Turner? And that would be we'll do a straight intelligence wits roll. It'll be diff 7 for everyone except William. It's diff 5.
Int wit. Whoop. Yeah. Sorry, I thought I rolled the -1 because we both hit enter at the same time. I was like, oh, I got a -1. Well,
it wasn't a botch, but all right.
Nope, I got a 6.
Zeb and William. The name sounds familiar, and then you remember back in the early 2000s, that name came up a lot on especially a lot of business news reports. Clinton Turner is the former CEO of Endron Oil. Now Endron Energy, of course.
Do I have any other on a 6 or just that?
That's it. Well, you know that Clint left Endron, or retired, so to speak, to go pursue other projects, and that he actually has a pretty squeaky clean record, so to speak, in terms of how well he did use the business, because his successor created a huge controversy with a massive oil spill in Louisiana that actually was so big that it hurt Endron's bottom line for a long time, before Clint came back for a short stint of a year to right the company once again and get them into alternative energy sources and safe drilling technology, and of course promoting once again the Institute of Clean Coal in America and energy independence in about 2012. Before once again leaving the company and working once again with his charity organization to allow energy independence for both America and to bring easy energy and electricity around the developing world is his charity's stated mission statement.
So he's found a way to create a kinder, friendlier, gentler Banes? Or has he suddenly become president of these United States?
As Rummage kind of winces and goes, he just announced his candidacy for president of the United States.
Zeb will just drop his head.
He's starting in the middle of the primaries, and he's got enough buzz still that he might win.
That's just great. A second businessman to run this country.
One who at least looks competent, even to people who don't like his party.
That's the scary part.
Exactly. So monkey wrenchers are on edge.
Clean fucking coal, huh?
Clean fucking coal. As well as expanded electric and solar, of course.
Well, does it get worse?
Doesn't need to be. Crackdowns everywhere.
We just expect the worst. And when this doesn't sound that bad, we expect to hear more.
Pretty bad. He's still got connections in Endron and various other heads of the Hydra.
Oh, I
Can't get that high
figured.
up. Can't get that high up in Endron and not know what's going on.
And not owe favors either.
Well, we've just been out and about, glad-handing, shaking babies and kissing hands for the young cub.
Should try kissing asses.
Well, that too. I just wiped off my nose before I got here.
Oh, did you leave it in your other pocket?
The metaphorical nose. The Fianna. Spicy good time.
Oh, that's how you lost your nose. Got it.
We actually came back, if you don't mind talking business at this point, trying to find connections to younger brother.
Oh, if you want younger brother, then well, there's a Sept nearby, I think. Actually, yeah, Sept of the Icy Cry. It's up in Quebec.
Mind giving us the location? Or do you have a
Yeah, we got a moon bridge. We got a moon bridge. We've been reinforcing them to enhance and strengthen the Karen, because the Karen here is strengthened by unity. And so that's why most tribes at least send a delegate here every now and then. Any sort of back and forth, outright hostilities, and fighting in the Karen can weaken it. So there can be stiff debate, but there cannot be outright war. The Karen dies. That's what helps protect it. At least war between Guy and Garu.
Well, we might be taking a dust off our passports and take a trip out here soon. Is Shadow Dagger here on the Sept performing his duties, or is he in the Ville?
He's been in and out. I don't pay much attention to that prick, if I'm gonna be honest with you. He doesn't give a shit about the rabble, and the rabble don't give a shit about him.
He knows what he could never achieve.
Freedom? Probably not. Wouldn't know freedom if I came up and bit him in his fucking ass.
I was hoping we were going to keep the nose joke going.
No. Sorry, bud.
Yeah, he likes ass.
Well, while that is true, the metaphor falls apart. Can't smell freedom? That don't work as much as freedom biting him in the ass.
Oh, that's fair. Well, keep us apprised of the rabble. They're the most important among us.
That's not true, but I appreciate the kind words. I'm sure you'll get far kissing babies and licking ass or whatever the hell you doing to garner favors.
Or I'll get dead. Either way.
We all get dead eventually.
You take care now. We'll see you on the way out.
See you on the way out.
I'm gonna go try to track down our favorite Shadow Lord.
Alright. They're in the city proper. You gotta go about 5-6 blocks.
Oh, so he's not... Okay.
Well, so Sept duties include, like, him protecting the Sept around
Yeah.
the area, yeah.
Okay, so he... Alright. with permission of the other players, I would like to go talk to him, at least to recount what happened with the Fianna and some of our ideas. And then
I mean, would
go.
this not be a good time to bring up the silver pack as well then?
That's what I was going to probably mention to him, among other things. But I would sooner it be as a favor, have it be the Shadow Lords that make these maneuvers, because old Zeb and William and crew probably aren't going to have that kind of influence that won't get laughed out of the moot, right? This might take a little time for them to try to organize some shit like that.
I mean, you're an Athro. You're not going to get laughed at for bringing up
I am an Athro that, among others that are on trial for our lives for violation of the litany, my friend.
Fair enough. So yeah,
We'll go trudge. We can come back here and link up with other folks you want to talk to before we leave for good. Let's go find him first to have this conversation.
So you find him in a back alley as he's holding up some kid, punk street kid, throws him down, nods, throws him some change, and then sees you, moves in. He looks at the kid he threw and just puts his finger to his mouth for a shush. He waves you over.
Come walking over. I'll make it a point not to look at the kid, the guy, whoever, the person.
Yeah. Been just a couple days. What's up?
Traveled to Boston. That was enlightening. There's a part of this I wanted. Well, Kyle and I had talked about that we might pass off to you, get the feel for it. One of the points I made to the Fianna was a stay of execution, being the point, because death might not be enough. There might be more time that needs to be done if they want to kill it right. That said, I think there could be some organization to what you'd already talked about, having a group that would watch over it. I think it could be a silver pack. I think the Fianna and some other hardliners should definitely be a part of it, but the Shadow Lords would be the ones responsible to kill it immediately should it step out of line, and doing everything they could to find a way to make sure that more of these, if they're created, are destroyed utterly and completely from the Tellurian. And that would mean a compromise, maybe, for a lot of folks that have some pretty strong thoughts.
I think that is a fine idea. I'll probably keep the Shadow Lords out of the pack, however. Last thing I want is the Silver Fangs to demand joining. We don't have a leg to stand on if we involve ourselves. But that is good.
Zebel.
But that's good. That'll certainly add some credence and even add the Eyes of Phoenix. If prophecy is to be had, then I'd like to have Phoenix and possibly a Red Talon in that grouping.
Zeb will look at William. You called it. I know you and your tribe are more skilled at making these things happen and would definitely have more weight in your voices than ours, which is why I wouldn't mention it otherwise, but only to you.
Until I find out you told Howling King a week ago.
We're new to politics.
Clearly.
Little brother will probably be next. Who will go and speak with. The Fianna were at least, some were willing to entertain the possibility of, like I said, a stay of execution. There's certainly not going to be any exoneration coming from that camp, which, being alive, is just as good. Fine. We'll head out soon. Just wanted to check in. Didn't want you taken by surprise.
Sure. Well, then you might kill two birds with one stone if you want to use our moon bridge.
We'd be happy to. What's the second bird?
Well, Sept of the Icy Cry, which is a moon bridge from this Karen, is a younger brother and a Red Talon Karen.
He'll look at William again. Phoenix is on your side, brother.
William can't help but chuckle a little bit.
Well, we'll see if we can snatch victory from the jaws of defeat. We'll rest here for a bit and then head out.
So, because the Karen's doing several duties and the gatekeeper won't be able to help you for approximately 2 days, because she's got things to do in using rummage with the rabble, which means basically going all across town, as well as other Septly duties. You've got 2 days, and that means no Agatha time, because she is the gatekeeper as well as the elder. But is there anything you guys want to do in New York City while you are here?
While we're here, Dimitri would actually like to see if he can interview some people that knew Wormherder,
Okay.
so that he can do more work on his magnum opus about the child.
Perfect. Several do. This Sept of the Green was essentially their home away from home.
And Bloody Snow is part of the Sept of the Green too, or am I mistaken?
Yes, she is. She was.
Okay, so he'll do some interviewing about both of them.
All right, so you come across a Lucy Street Speaker. She is a member of the Bone Nars, much like yourself. She is also the Master of Challenge.
Dimitri will approach and give his greetings as he says, street speaker?
Street Speaker, yep, as she's going through like a trash can and pulling out some old food, stuffing them into like a paper bag.
Nice to meet you. I am Dimitri Howls-In-Memory.
Oh, you're Howls-In-Memory. Okay, I keep hearing you coming through the Sept, but I don't ever catch you.
I've been a very busy galliard the last few weeks.
I'm sure.
I'm working on a piece. A story, maybe a song. I haven't decided which yet, but I wanted to include Wormherder and Bloody Snow in it, about the child that has been on everybody's minds lately. And I was wondering what you could tell me about Wormherder and Bloody Snow. I never met them personally. I've only seen them in passing, and I've heard that they both more or less grew up here or trained here. What can you tell me about them?
Yeah, they came together. It's a good year for Garu. They came here, and we established 3 packs that year. One pack, unfortunately, died the next year, but the final howl and the fire starters got really tight. And Malcolm and Snow in particular, they were really more like one big pack with 2 different totems than 2 separate packs. It was a deep love for each other. They had connections to us thanks to Roger. Roger got him introduced to all of us. And I remember once Malcolm walked into an Atulli's years ago and almost violated the veil by accident because someone decided to rob the place, and he had just gotten into an argument with Snow about, warrior culture stuff, and so Malcolm decided to step up in Hamid form, and he got shot. Well, Hamid's not his breed form, so he was able to tank a bit of that bullet, and a ton of people saw, and so he had to rip his shirt a little bit and make it look like a miracle that it passed through one side, and then he punched the dude out, then left before the cops could ask any questions or a medic look to see that no damage had been done. That was kind of who he was.
What do you remember the most about either of them?
I think Snow, it was certainly her conviction and her strength. She was so incredibly strong because she cared. And she never stopped caring, even if it was painful. They had a pack mate years ago called Crimson Shame, and they were also a Krynos-born, but of the Fianna. And poor dear had antlers as their metis condition, but they were twisted and gnarled. And it was told when they came back that Shame had disappeared for months and months. And then it turned out that Shame was in Pangea. And in Pangea, the Krynos-born lose their mutation because they didn't exist back then. They became Hamid, or they became Lupus. But only in that realm. They could have children with the people there, and Shame started a family and used that as a way to escape all the scorn that he had felt throughout his life. And Malcolm and Snow both tried to talk him out of it and get him out of it, and I guess they finally broke. And Shame, as a third, eventually summoned a great spirit and had them carried off. And in the fight, they explained that as Shame went down, he ripped out his own antler and gutted the spirit in the spiral that went after them before dying. And Snow witnessed that. She had grown up with Shame. They were both Krynos-born, locked away and in close proximity to each other. And she carried that, and she never forgot. She never turned away from the less pleasant aspects of Shame, but she always remembered and held the good parts too. And that's a level of strength that's admirable. Malcolm always just had conviction. Malcolm would stand up for what he thought was right. And it prevented him from reaching his rank sooner than it would have, because whenever an elder brought up the Krynos-born or used the word mule, Malcolm was right there in their face, demanding them to either say it to his face so he could challenge them, even if they were 2-3 ranks above him, or he would shame them into taking it back and apologizing.
Well, thank you for your stories. They both were wonderful, Garu. I regret that I didn't really take the opportunity to meet either of them.
I think the nation is certainly lesser with them not being here anymore.
That I think we can both agree on. But thank you for your time, Street Speaker.
Thank you for speaking with me, Howls-In-Memory.
I'll definitely try to include all that you told me. But is there anything I can help you with here?
Yeah, I'm gonna convert some of this stuff into a soup using our gift cooking so that we can, feed some of our homeless siblings around the city. There's nothing obviously trash, because cardboard being the same consistency as cheese without a taste really freaks out humans.
Oh, of course. I have the same gift, so maybe we can double the batch.
That sounds good to me. Alright, so you guys off do that. Does anyone else want to do anything else in the couple of days, or?
I'll ask the old usual, are there any silent striders here in the Sept?
There are. This one is a Broken Paw. They are a Krynos-born silent strider with the withered limb affliction.
Younger or same general age as old Zebulon?
They're about 25. Well, they look 25. That means that they're probably like 15.
Right. You said Broken Paw?
Yeah.
I will go and seek them out.
Oh, your Speaks-in-Sweet-Whispers, Rhea.
I am. Please sit. I have managed to get some bread. Luckily, one of my pack mates has considerably better means than I do. Join me. It's warm.
Sure. As you see their kind of gnarled hand go up as they feel warmth as they rub themselves down. Oh, chilly out.
It is a bit. Are you passing through?
I am. Word on the Concordant, word on some of the stuff about ancestors being seen again, as well as bad news from across the ocean recently.
Oh, please.
Well, things are getting tense between the Shadow Lords and the Red Talons out in Russia, because the Baba Yaga stone cairn has fallen. One of the largest cairns of the Shadow Lords in the area, and it was shared with the Red Talons, and it's gone.
When?
Hard to tell. Word of mouth is spreading, and it's difficult to run through as the razors of the Gauntlet have been starting to cut people up.
You've brought that message to the Sept here already?
I have.
Troublesome with the Margrave here in America. Well, that is quite a message. Congratulations to being able to carry it. Even though it was so dark, it needs to be known. Powerful Garu will act from that knowledge. I've heard little. I've heard some of the activity of some of the namers. I've heard this from the Fianna and a few others. some new ones coming around to execute their perversion in the spirit world. Something worth mentioning and making note of as we talk to our others. They are a mystery to many of us, difficult to defend against.
Very well. Good to know. I've heard, there are strange namers that have been popping up across the country, as well as apparently a red talon Karen has also been attacked by strange worm spawn. The talons refer to them as like leech adjacent, but not quite. Their bodies are rotting and they don't really drain blood, but they have an odd strength of body.
I've heard this before too, and you've heard this from the talons?
Yes. The talons fended them off.
There's dark times as things from beyond the second veil move into this one.
The seventh maelstrom has devastated the lands of the dead.
Do you know of anyone we had on the other side when it happened?
Anyone who was there when the maelstrom happened got swept away.
Is it static or moving?
It's a constant storm now, though not so bad that you'll get blown away now. It is devastating, it is difficult to travel, and it is dangerous to walk the dark umbra.
That explains the breezes along the moon bridges. Well, dear Ken, it is my good fortune to speak with you today.
I don't think the Moonbridge breezes are tied to this maelstrom. Moonbridges move away from the Dark Umbra. They move upward into the astral plane, or the ethereal realm. I think those winds are from something else, but I can't quite put my finger on it just yet.
We'll travel well and sure-footed.
And you
I'll
as
see you
well.
in Chem.
I will see you in Chem. May Owl guide your way, and may your steps be silent.
And you, young one, spread the good word.
Yes, Mark.
Are there any Sept duties that Mark could help out with so that we can garner some talons that we could spend on moon bridges?
Yeah, you're basically going to be put in an orange jumper, and you will be cleaning Central Park with the help of the Keeper of the Land. So
Sounds perfect.
Yep. All right. Grab. That'll earn you 1 talent.
Awesome.
And they will give you a moon sign.
Sweet.
But of course, by Agatha's orders, any moon bridge that you guys take out of here is free of charge, as she is rooting for you. After some time, a couple days, she does return, and she smiles at you and goes, I suppose it's time for you to leave. Where are you heading? I hope you weren't waiting long.
Not waiting at all. We were looking to travel to the Sept of the Icy Cry.
Oh, an interesting choice. Good luck. Younger brother have been prickly in general, but I'm sure you can manage.
We would be doing a disservice to not speak to younger brother or the Red Talons. It would be as if we thought less of them to talk to everyone but them.
An excellent point. Well, shall we cross the gauntlet?
Please.
All right, as you all take 1 point of lethal damage, and the moon bridge is open as you launch off and you enter the Cairn. You are greeted by one frozen or unyielding winter.
Greetings, gatekeeper.
Greetings. He nods. You are?
We are Fomori's Bane and the Ill Omens. And he'll give his introduction.
I recognize your pack names. I'm assuming you'll wish to speak to some of the elders here.
And also you, if you don't.
I do not mind.
Everyone has a voice.
Well, what do you wish to ask?
I'd like to pull a page out of my Alpha's book and ask just what your general thoughts are first, and then go from there.
Well, there's lots of thoughts to be had. You may want to get more specific.
It is about the child and the concordant that is coming.
Ah, yes, the concordant. Well, I'll be curious. The child, I think, will be important and should live. They are related to older brother, and the nation has been always quick to attack our tribes. As for the concordant, it seems interesting that it's being called now.
What makes you say that? Why is it being called now instead of earlier or later? What makes this time so special?
Well, because the nation is just now waking up to the apocalypse. The apocalypse has been happening for 500 years. I don't expect Wormcomers to fully grasp that, but yes, the apocalypse has been happening. The child is just a final nail in the coffin. I think the child represents a level of hope, but you're asking younger brother to make a judgment? I doubt we'll be listened to.
Well, there's a reason why we call it Concordant for all the tribes and are hosting it at a Sept of Unity. Everyone has a voice.
It's nice that you found it within your heart to do so now. Either way, I think the child should live because I find the concept of murdering a child because it is born wrong disgusting. I know that there are members of younger brother who disagree with me. Members who have some ties to the protectors of Gaia. But personally, I dislike them and their stances, even if they do have a supposed rigid adherence to litany to help younger and older brother. The litany has always been twisted to give some tribes better leverage than others.
It seems we have more in common than we'd thought.
I wouldn't go that far.
Well, be that as it may, I appreciate you taking the time to talk to us. Can you point us in the direction of the elders then?
They're having a discussion on the other side of the gauntlet. You'll have to enter the physical realm.
Thank you again.
One more lethal for everyone?
And are we stepping into the cairn then? So we can shift to Glabro?
The moon bridge has to enter the cairn. It doesn't,
okay,
it's not outside.
Then I'll shift to Glabro to heal my 2 lethal.
Okay.
And then shift back to Hamid.
Mark will do that too. That's a good idea.
Are you ready to find the elders?
Yeah, sounds good. Yeah, Sean, do you have something?
Yeah, I'm kind of looking at what form are most of the guru here in.
It's a good blend. Some are in Lupus, some are in Hamid, and a couple are in Krynos, likely because they are guardians working with the warder.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
As you approach, you find 2 of the elders. One is Winter's Kiss, as she is speaking to a Lupus who is known as Desert's Pelt.
I think we'll walk up and wait to be gestured to, acknowledged.
All right. She nods and she beckons you over to her and the wolf.
Elders, I am Speaks-in-Sweet-Whispers, child of Owl, Alpha of the Ill Omens, our sister pack here from Mori's Bane. We would come to speak to the elders of the North Wind and of Griffin on the Concordant, happening soon at the Sept of the Green.
Well, there's one of each. I am of North Wind, and they are of Griffin.
I'm aware you both know, or likely know, messengers have reached here now of what is about to take place, the discussion of this war born, and what the Gru Nation will do. I would appreciate hearing your howls, your words, on this matter, so we might address questions or speak to what's happened, as this child's fate is determined.
Kiss speaks up and she goes, I think that the child is interesting and should be watched. The child has deep connections to the Umbra if rumor and legend speak true. Is it true that the child was born when the Great Eye opened?
The events are very close, Elder. Before or after is to be debated, but it is no doubt linked.
I think that gives us time to at least observe the child. I think that its connection to older brother is interesting as well. Older brother has always investigated the darker aspects of the worm and how to use the worm's own against it. Perhaps this is Gaia granting that gift to the nation, using something that the spirals have regularly done. to create Krynos-born children who then raid us. What if she has given us our own to defend ourselves? Desert's Pelt goes, child could walk two paths. Unclear, but the desperate one, no doubts.
We've had, and I will keep, and Zeb will say this to Desert Pelt, I will keep to my ape skin, as to not pander or insult. We have dealt with many on this, and where they question the validity of what the destiny is. Many have the concern of what would happen should the child be unprepared for being turned by the worm, being unprepared for honey in its ears, or adhering to the litany in its strictest form, its oldest form, that they believe perhaps the word purest form. We are of one mind and belief that the child should live and should be studied. An interesting question was brought up relative to what this could mean spiritually, what this child could just represent as existing as part of the Tellurian. And we have suggested to many, and hope the suggestion takes hold, that it must be studied, and that a group of our best to study it and observe it, and to be ready should it fall to the worm, to always be concerned. But if it meets its greatest destiny for us all as the desperate one, well, we shall see if that is, to the salvation of the Groom Nation or not.
Desperate one is the Philodox. It is half light, half darkness, and must choose. How much you know of our enemy? How much do you know of Whippoorwill's brood?
I know that they are divided. They battle if it is their salvation or if it is their downfall. They fight amongst themselves. We have encountered them in combat and have seen this with our own eye. They will be hunting for them, to turn them, but still others will look to destroy it.
Winter's Kiss kind of gives a smirk. We've been discussing this philosophy between the two of us. The question, we've heard news of the spirals coming after you has preceded you. My friend here believes that the child is the desperate one, and the desperate one is destined to violate all the laws of litany and become victorious in the apocalypse. Now that sounds very bad, doesn't it? Given what is in our litany. But if that was the single reading of it, why would the spirals be divided? Based on the litany, it sounds like this child is a shoo-in to be on their side, does it not? If it is, in fact, the desperate one?
I will abridge a rather offensive question that I heard related to this, or at least a hypothesis, down to one that maybe adheres to how we think us here. If this is something that's never been seen before in the Tellurian, an entirely new form of life, which it is, a Krynos-born, born of Krynos-born without any visible flaw, then what litany is there for it to violate? If it could be believed to be a creature that would appear, if people could rationalize that it exists.
That is one reading. That is an interesting reading. That is not one I have thought of. But I had a different one. What if there are two litanies being referenced? Is it such a breach to think that the Black Spiral Dancers don't have their own litany? What if the child chooses... Desert's Pelt speaks up. What if the child chooses which litany it violates?
That is interesting.
If I may add to that point, I do recall when we were assaulting a Black Spiral hive and recovered some of their cubs that had not yet walked the spiral, they were reciting a sort of it seemed like they were reciting some sort of litany to themselves.
Do you recall? Knowing what the Spiral Litany is would be fascinating.
On that note, I am going to use my gift Perfect Recall and spend one Gnosis to remember the Black Spiral Litany.
Good memory, DM.
The Dark Litany is, Serve the worm's will, this is his age. Beware the territory of another. The spiral awaits those with open eyes. Respect the strength of the mighty. The first share of the kill for the greater in station. All that is not forbidden is permitted. Indulge in your desires. This is your world. The veil shall not be lifted. Suffer not thy people to tend to thy sickness. The leader may be challenged at any time during peace. The leader may not be challenged during wartime. Take no action that violates the security of a pit.
And as Dimitri finishes saying the words, he's gonna remark, even saying most of that left a bad taste in my mouth.
Violating all that's not so bad. Younger brother is split, but many here are in favor of the child, is what you need to know. Some are indifferent. They think that this is just wormcomers coming up with something new to promote that the apocalypse now is threatening them.
Well, as we know, the apocalypse has been happening for hundreds of years. It is just now that the others are waking up, including myself.
Your tribes had a hand in kickstarting that apocalypse.
You're right.
It's good that some of you acknowledge it, but I'd like to see more actions over words. We'll see if the Concordant does anything on that front.
Well, this was the entire purpose of our visit, elders, to speak with you, let you know what would be talked about or discussed during the Concordant soon.
It was appreciated. As Desert's Pelt kind of goes, my view's different from many Talons. Grew up not here on this continent. Traveled Gaia, where the wolves used to roam. Settled here. Wider, as wolf senses expand beyond Homid senses. What I've seen is like wolf senses to man senses to other Talons. Seen much. Many Talons likely harder to convince. Gaia's Inferno already calling for the slaughter of child.
Then perhaps we should appear before them to hear their howls. Where are they?
Gaia's Inferno is found deep in the forests. Last heard, they were in the northern forests of Montana, near Idaho. As you hear from younger brother, my understanding, they tend to be near Glacier National Park, in the forest just to the west.
How far does their territory span? I don't want to, risk death violating their lands.
It goes far, but if you travel as a wolf, you'll smell much, hear much. It is impossible to miss with the senses of a wolf. All too easy to miss with the senses of a man.
Zeb will scratch his face where his nose is supposed to be. Indeed. If we may, return to the Sept of the Green from here.
It is acceptable. It'll take another day. We wish to make sure that our gatekeeper performs other duties. As some Garu are passing through on foot. You are allowed to stay in the Bon, but only on the southern edges, as you are guests here, and we will not give you full reign of the Karen.
Thank you, elders.
And so the next day comes. You take another point of lethal damage as you go into the Umbra. You shoot off to the green. You've got just a little over 2 months now to try and continue this talk. But we will find out how that all plays out next time. Thank you to everyone who listened. We'll catch you in that next episode. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.